Alright, welcome to the SCX10 JLU build series. This is part number 1, bag 1, or bag A. These are the front and rear AR45P portals. I've already got all the bags open. Sorry, that made my brain derp. I've already got all the bags open because nobody wants to hear that on camera. It's real loud. I'll give you a taste of it. Sorry. So the kit comes with grease and thread locker. I'm not going to use that grease. I'm going to use my own thread locker. This is the stuff that I like. It's the Lucas Marine grease. Keeps everything lubed, and it's a lot harder for water to penetrate and break down, especially since we tend to put our vehicles in the water 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 times out of 10. So first we're going to start with the differentials. So we've got the ring gear and the pinion gear and the locker. All the different screws over here. What size are they calling for? It is the M2x8, and which are these, and I don't know if you can see it. Same thing like the Vanquish kits. Everything is to scale. It's kind of hard to see with my fingers on the way, but it's the same size as the picture, indicating it is the correct one. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And give me a second to find my thread locker. Okay, found it. It's Permatex thread locker. Nothing against the factory stuff, I just have always used this. And I'll get a water bottle cap and pour some into it, because I had this cut thinner but the tip got clogged. So tool wise, was almost prepared. These are just my Endura tools I got off Amazon for like 27 bucks. Can't beat them, not too bad. I believe it's a 1.5. Let's give it a test. And it is. Okay. So we've got, on the picture, it's held this way, and then the gear goes on like so. And as usual, I will not bore you guys with me breathing heavy putting this thing together. So we've got the 6 M2x8mm screws that go along here. You will thread locker each one. Always thread locker metal on metal. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done now. Okay, locker on, or ring gear on locker, check. Second, we will be using the front axle, and I like the little red covers, by the way. I'm sure he'll put some heavy brass ones on it eventually. So we've got these bearings, and I don't know, keep in mind I've torn apart my SCX10 and rebuilt it probably 15 times just because I get bored sometimes. But I know that these bearings with the little openings on them, or not the openings but without the rubber seals, go on top of these lockers, one on each side. Now, unlike the SCX6, I haven't found where you need to shim these side to side, so we'll see how that goes. And unfortunately, like the Vanquish ones, is pretty easy because it tells you right here what size each bearing is, but this just gives you a part number and then a breakdown on the side, and then it tells you the size of them. Not a big deal, might just slow me up a hair. So we've got the, what is this? 2 of those. 1, 2. And then I need a 5x14x5 and a 5x11x4. And most likely this thicker boy. Yep. So this thicker one. And looks like the outside pinion bearing. So this thicker one goes on the inside, snaps down into place, pop. And then you've got the pinion that will slide down through that bearing, and then on the back side, the other bearing goes on here, pop, snap in, spins good. Alrighty, and then it says to grease everything. So what we're gonna do is we will slide this in. Well, probably wouldn't hurt to shim one of these side by side, but we'll just have to see how it goes when he runs it. Like I said, I've beaten the hell out of mine. Brittany's beaten the hell out of hers. I mean, these gears are stout. So now we need M2.5 by 18 millimeter differential cover screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can't forget the grease. I don't have my little grease syringe, so I'm just going to use a flathead, and we will paint it onto this ring gear. Try not to get it all over the outside of the housing. Spin this gear around. 180. Get some more grease. Now, oof. What I've found out is there is such thing as too much grease. Some people might argue, but the last thing I want when I'm out riding the trails is for the grease to be oozing out of the ends of the axle tubes or out of the portals. I found that out the hard way. And as everybody knows, the grease and dirt just create just a nasty, gummy mess. So give that a few good spins, make sure everything's nice and coated. Give this a wipe off. Set this somewhere where it's not gonna get grease on everything. All right, and then the front differential cover will pop on. Gives it a good snap. And then you've got your differential cover screws. And that is going to be a 2 millimeter. And luckily one of my sets of bits took a dump, so I bought another one, so now I got two handles, one with a 2 and one with a 1.5. Makes life easier. Okay, that's not cutting it. I don't want to be here for 4 days putting differential covers on, so I'm gonna put it in the trusty drill on number 1. All right, now that we have tools that make our lives easier and faster, we got the differential locker and ring gear and pinion installed. Everything's smooth spinning, packed full of grease. On to the next step. So the next step is going to be the outer portals. Since we're working on the front, we're gonna go ahead and use my used Treel knuckles and outer portal covers. I think these knuckles have bearings in them already still. Yep, and they're not in bad shape. So we're gonna leave them be, and we'll save the spares just in case one of them blows apart. I don't know what grease I used in these before, so we're gonna wipe some of this out. I don't know if it's bad to mix grease, but I don't feel like it, so. Which I highly doubt it's a big deal to mix the two greases. Tommy's a mechanic, he'll be able to tell you. Leave a comment, Tommy, if you're watching this. Tell me if I messed up and need to redo it. So we've got the pins, the stub shaft, and the whatchamacallits, portal gears. So you got the stub shaft will sit on here, or this pin will sit on the stub shaft, centered up, and the lower portal gear sits down into that notch, locks it in, and it looks like, is this the right one in the picture? Yeah. So this will get this stub and whatnot here, and then you've got that bearing in there already, which is a 10 by 15 by 4, and then in the outer portal cover you've got a, what is that, 1221. 1221 is a 5 by 11 by 4, which it seems like there's plentiful of those. One of those, and a 7009, which is a 5 by 13 by 4, which is not that one. Is it this bigger one? Yeah, so 5 by 13 by 4 will go here in the bottom, and your 5 by 11 by 4 will go in the top, and that will actually catch the square piece on the universal joint. So it's wanting me to put all these together before putting the shafts in, which makes it kind of difficult, and definitely difficult to grease. So this one goes onto this side of the axle, which is what, passenger side? Yeah, right side. And that will be the longer shaft. So we're going to hold this and put the longer shaft in here, let it sit in that bearing, and put the upper portal gear on it. Get that to sit down nice. Try to do this without it popping out, which is probably going to be difficult. So what I'm going to do is get covered in grease as usual. I'm going to hold this in here, find my handy dandy screwdriver and some grease, and put some down on the top. Press the bearing in, give it a spin. And we have greasage, whatever you want to call it. We got some grease. Let's get a little bit more. Really wish I had my syringe full of grease, but it ran out of grease and it was a pain in the butt to pack the second time, so we ain't doing that one again. Wipe some of the excess grease off. Then comes the outer portal cover, which, does it show a shim on there? Some of them do, some of them don't. This one does not. That will go like so, and we get the 2.5 by 10 mil, which are these guys. I'll run these down by hand. Now, I think that there's no need to put Loctite on these outer portal covers. Now, obviously, if you're putting the plastic stock ones on, you definitely don't want to do that because it will eat through the plastic. But I don't like to put the Loctite on the pieces that I take apart often. Don't you come out of there. And also, brass is soft, so you don't have to wrench down on these too hard. It's just unnecessary, and you could strip out the brass. And we're not in the game of that, especially because these, I think it's about $45 for the knuckles in brass, and probably another $45 for the outer portal covers in brass from Trio. But you do get, you know, a whole axle's worth. So you get both knuckles or both outer portals. Now I'm going to skip a step so that I don't drop this all apart, and we are going for a 5x11x4 bearing, which is going to sit in the outside of this bearing, or on the outside of the axle housing. We will slide this guy, and you'll have to spin until it sits down into the locker, because if I can show you the locker, I don't know if you can see it, if it'll focus. The locker is shaped like this guy, where it's not a full circle. It's got two shaved parts here, which will actually mate inside of this and let it spin as the gears spin. So you have to kind of twist it on the inside to make that work. I'm gonna make it seat correctly. And then we've got the knuckle kingpin screws. And these you don't have to over tighten because you don't want to squish it too hard, but luckily with the plastic housings and the brass knuckles, you can get it fairly tight and it doesn't bind up the play. So if you're using the plastic knuckles, the torque, you want to watch the torque as to not torque it down too much and make that plastic crimp on itself so that you get a locked up knuckle. You want it to be able to flop freely, or semi-freely, depending on the power of your servo. The save box that's going in this is going to be pretty powerful, so we'll leave it like that. Alright, and then we'll go back to putting the outside together. All right, wow, that thing's got some weight to it, and it's definitely going to be forward biased on the weight. All right, everything runs freely. So that is the front axle assembly, and now we will do the rear. So the rear is about the same. I'm going to go ahead and build the differential, get it set in there with the ring and pinion and locker. They are the same as the front, or it is the same as the front, and all of the bearings are the same. They're identical. Okay, so that's the differential assembled. Oh, sorry, Bubba. My dog's sitting under my feet. But that is the differential assembly and diff cover install for the rear axle. On to the next, and we've got yet again stub axle, pin, axle shaft, and gears and bearings somewhere. Let's see, we're gonna go with the plastic outer portal covers because, well, that's what came with the kit and that's what we got. Again with the, what size is that? 5x13x4 and the 5x11x4. Okay, both of those are done. Inside here, you get the, is it 2 or just 1? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. So you get one of the 511-4s in the bottom, and that's where your stub axle will sit. Stub axle just refers to this little axle that the bottom portal gear is on that your wheel will bolt to. So that snaps in there. And then you've got the outer portal gear that will slide into the axle shaft, or yeah, axle housing. And I guess what holds that is going to be this outer bearing for when you go spinning it. And we will strategically place some grease down on the inside and try not to make too much of a mess. Just don't know how much I can pack in there. Get quiet when I concentrate, sorry guys. Sometimes I sweat, no, I'm just kidding, but I always sweat. Alright, so looks like it's good and coated now. Now we can come in with the proper outer portal cover. Shimmy that down. Oh, would you look at that? Nice and flush all the way around. Nice and flush. Go along with my nice and messy. Wish they made brake clean in a damn lotion or something. Or a non-aerosol, then I could keep rubbing things down. Okay, there is the, what was that, passenger side, right side. Now we will do the left side, and we will not jump the gun. We will remember that this is a number 2, which is here. And let's put this stub shaft in. All right, and just like that, that is the rear AR45P portal axle assembly. Now we get some of this cleaned up, and I will set these plastic knuckles to the side that we will never use, and these bearings that is good to have spares of because water and bearings don't go very well. So you got your big chonky front axle, your very lightweight rear axle. Whoa. And you can definitely tell the portal. I looked it up the other night. It's like 1 point something reduction. I don't know. Really easy to spin this and spin those. A little bit harder here. That's part of the reduction. So that is both of the axles assembled. Thanks for sticking around to part 1 of the SCX10 build series. Stay tuned for part 2. It looks like part 2 is gonna be my favorite, which is shocks. So yeah, I hate building shocks. I love building kits, but I wish they assembled the shocks. So that's it. Stay tuned, and soon enough we'll be putting the shocks together. Thanks guys.